Hello, welcome back to another episode of Average Gamer Plays Factorio. In between the last episode and this one, I've done a lot of planning on the base, thinking about how I want to lay it out, and I've done a bit of work in putting those plans into place. Now, I've not done any more research and I've not built any more science labs. All I've been doing is just rejigging the stuff that I've already had in place because I knew that it was only going to be temporary at the time, and now it's going to be a little bit more permanent. So if we have a look at the map, we shall see that I've put some little labels on the map to show how I'm going to be organising everything. This is the original line of iron plate smelting, which I've had before. I blueprinted another 3 lines next to it. I've moved the brick, the stone smelting into bricks. That was originally down here somewhere. I've taken that up and sort of rebuilt it up here so that it's going to be in a line and sort of next to all those and nice and neat. I've used the grenades to blow up all the trees, so I've got a lot more space to work with. There was a lot of trees around here before. I've covered all the ore patches with miners, so that's going to get all fully mined out. I'll have to do something down here to... I don't think I'll be able to get the little bits where they overlap, but I might be able to get another row of miners down here. I'll just have to move this coal line out of the way. The miners on the copper here, these lines actually come out downwards because I didn't have enough room. I had to have these smelting lines higher up than the iron ones because this ore patch was getting in the way. If I had those in a line, it would cover the patch, and I didn't really want to do that. So these are a little bit higher up, but they're still not quite high enough to if I had all these belts coming out and going in here, they'd still get in the way. So I've got the belts coming out, coming downwards, and then across and back up again. And over here, I'm going to build a belt balancer so that I'll show you what the belt balancer does when I build it, but basically it evens out the load on the belts so that if this smelting array is drawing more copper than the others, it's still going to draw from these 4 lines evenly, so it's not just going to, because eventually these will start running out and one of these lines will start thinning out, but I don't want the smelting array to run out of copper just because the miners down here are running out if there's still plenty in the middle. So I'll put a belt balancer down there and that'll even everything out. Oh, I forgot I was in map view. Things scroll around a lot faster in map view. So let's just scroll out a little bit. So I've got all the smelting arrays. The steel smelting, that's just a little placeholder, because the steel smelting that I'm going to build won't look like this because it has to work slightly differently because it's a 2-step process. First you smelt the iron ore into iron plates and then you smelt the iron plates into steel. So that's going to look slightly different to that, but it's going to go over there. And then up here I'm going to have a bus, and which is just basically similar to what I had over here, but just on a bigger scale. And I've sort of labelled, I've put down a few belts and I've labelled what they're going to be. So I'm going to have 4 belts of iron plate, 4 belts of copper plate, coal, brick, stone, steel, 2 belts of electronic circuits, and this is going to be for advanced circuits when I research those. And then anything else that I need to add on, I can just sort of put more belts down or run pipes if I want to have sulfur or whatever else, sulfuric acid going up the up on the bus. I can just add more belts going out in this direction. I've built these paths using bricks because I had to use up the bricks that I'd already smelted from the stone. You run faster along paths. If I move along here, you can see how fast I'm running there, but as soon as I start running on the path, it's quite a bit quicker than running on the grass. So I like to have these stone brick paths around, and you can make paths later on out of concrete and they're even faster. What's the other thing that I've done off camera that you might not see? I had an awful lot of wood in my inventory because when I was chopping down the trees, so I've just put a little chest down here, and I've just dumped all the wood down here, and later on I'm going to work out a way of filtering this wood onto this conveyor belt so it just gets burnt up into the in the boilers there, and it just gets used for fuel. I'm going to add more miners to the coal eventually. Yeah, so it's just been a case of sort of working out how best to route the coal from the patch to where I've got the smelting lines going. The one over here for the copper is a slightly different method of feeding the coal in. I mean, it still gets split out onto the belts, but it comes in from the side and just goes all the way across. Whereas out... Oops, too fast. Whereas down here, let's just come out of map mode so I can walk around at a reasonable pace. So down here I've just got the coal coming in underneath and then just filtering round, so that I'm just going to repeat that. It doesn't really matter which way round you do it, but I've put this coal line along here so that I can put splitters on there just to feed it up into each smelting line. What else did I do? I've put a couple of little machines down here making landfill. I don't know how much landfill I'm going to need, but landfill is actually very expensive. It actually takes 20 stone to make one piece of landfill, so this actually uses up a stone patch quite quickly. But it's there in case I ever need it, so that's just like a little mini mall area for landfill. As and when I need more bricks, I can just add more furnaces along here. Now, I won't build these other lines straight away. I'll add them in as and when I need them, and it might well be that by the time I need them, we'll have a lot more steel furnaces and red belts, and I can just build them on the upgraded level. Or I might even not need them until I get to electric furnaces, and which will be a totally different design to this. But this is just a placeholder saying smelting will go here. Now again, if we have a look at the map, I've got areas here marked out for electronic circuits, advanced circuits, and a mall. Now the mall may not be this far over because I'm not sure how much space the electronic circuits and advanced circuits builds are going to take. So it may well be that the electronic circuits can go down here, advanced circuits can go here, and then the mall can go up there. But it's just, again, rough placeholders to say what I'm going to put where. At the moment, I've just got the one little electronic circuit build. I'm going to take that down. In fact, I'm going to copy it. And it's basically going to get duplicated. So we're going to have... basically 1, 2, something like 4 roughly at the moment. Let's just sort of, and then we'll have a belt of copper coming in there, and we need a belt of steel going in there, because in fact let's reorganize these lines. Let's have the belt of steel going in and being picked up on these yellow inserters, and then the red inserters outputting the green circuits. So let me just take those up and redo them the other way around. I could place them and then rotate them, but so in. If you place something down over a ghost, it takes the ghost away. So you have to be a little bit careful about that. Out, 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 out. Now, the way this works is that the belts always output onto the far side of a conveyor belt, which means that the near side is going to be empty. And that means that we can take one of these, rotate it, and place it over over there. So then we're going to have this belt of, again, copper coming in. This belt of steel coming in, of iron plate rather. And then these will output onto the other side of this. So we're going to have a full belt of, or at least green circuits, electronic circuits coming out onto both sides of this belt. I haven't worked out yet if these are enough factories to fill a belt completely, or if it's too many, or whatever. But let's just paste. I can't paste that one in yet because I haven't built it. So that's the idea behind that. So you can see already that that's taking up more space than I initially thought it might do. So the mall might end up being a bit further over here, but that's not a problem. I don't really want to have to sort of tear down everything that I built up here just to rebuild it further up. I might end up actually I might build the mall a lot more kind of over in this direction, as long as I build it far enough away from the bus that I know it's not going to really sort of run into. There's not going to be that much more on the bus. It might just get 2 or 3 lanes wider. So even if I just sort of put this down as placeholders for future expansion, and then even then leave a bit more space. So even if I start building the mall above where this steel smelting is going to be, that's still going to be, it just means that that's still going to be out of the way enough, I think. Now, the other thing that I've done off camera is I've started doing some planning on how the mall is going to be laid out and organised. I've used malls in the past from blueprints from other people, but I've never actually designed and built my own in the past. So this will be a little bit of a first. However, I do have a pretty good idea of how the other malls were laid out and how they worked, so mine may end up being quite similar. I can remember certain aspects of these other malls that I've used, but I can't remember every little thing about them. We're not going to need that anymore. Take all this out. So this iron plate coming out of here is now going to go onto the first lane of the mall here. This coal is going to go onto its own lane of the mall. Let's tidy up this line a little bit here. Let's not have it zigzagging so much. This copper, all this copper is going to have to cross over here, so let's have a little gap there in the coal line. It might be a little bit sort of zigzaggy until, you know, while we get everything from the manufacturing areas onto the bus in the right, come on, draw a straight line, onto the bus in the right place, but once it's there, it's there. So we've got bricks being made over here. So eventually, let's take this up. That served its purpose. So we're going to have a line coming out. This one might as well just go straight across there. This one. So then we'll have 3 out of belts already, and I might start running out of stuff until I get them all finished off, because this is going to start running out of materials, this little temporary area. So I might end up putting down a lot of ghosts until I can rebuild stuff. So that's going to be 4 lines there. So that brick line is going to have to go do it this way. If I'm walking in a straight line, I'm not going to go offline, am I? That one's going to go onto the first line anyway, because I haven't finished building the others yet. But these, eventually these are going to sort of come along, and this one will move over to the 4th line, and all these others will go onto the earlier lines. But this brick is going to cross over there, come up here a little bit, yeah, let's just sort of wiggle it around here a little bit. In fact, yeah, it doesn't really matter, it's a little bit. It's a little bit messy, but it gets the job done. It gets the job done. Now I need to have some stone coming out as well, so we need both stone and brick. So I don't want to smelt all the stone into brick. I will have another line coming out. Now I've run out of space along here, to some extent. How am I going to feed this through? Have that in there. We're going to have that coming out over there. So I planned things out a little bit, but it still doesn't look especially neat and tidy, but you know, it gets the job done, I think. Right, so that then needs to feed through up to here. That'll do. It's a complete mess, but it gets there. I mean, we're going to be working on this area up here all the time, so this is where everything, you know, this is where all the magic happens. Right, I've taken up a power pole, so none of this has got power at the moment. So we just need to replace a power pole. Let's grab one. There you go. It's going to be a complete mess, but we will deal with it. Oh, come on. Is that all working properly? Looks like it is. So we've now got a belt of green circuits coming out. So let's feed those back onto the bus. And the reason these are 4 lanes apart is that that's the distance that these yellow undergrounds cover. So this path here is going to be where the undergrounds are going to go. So if I need to feed things off the belts, it's just going to be like a little reverse thing. I'll put a splitter here and I'll feed things across to the side. So we've now got iron, copper, coal, brick, stone and electronic circuits. We need to get some steel on the go. And then I can start building my little mall. So the steel is a similar sort of thing to this, except let's just delete an area here. What we need to have for steel is... Right, so we'll have a belt coming up as we did before. I've run out of belts. Copper and iron ore on it like before. Going into a furnace. However, this furnace then goes into another furnace that's going to make the steel plate. The tricky part is that both these furnaces need coal, and at the moment the coal is only on that side, so we're going to need another belt of coal and a belt for the output. And similar to what we did with the electronic circuits, sort of feeding in the steel and then outputting, we'll have a long-handed inserter and a normal inserter. So that's going to feed in the coal, and then that's going to output the steel plate. Now the tricky part there is going to be where the power for it goes. those powered by those poles, but this power pole doesn't cover everything up to here. So what we need to do then is put an underground belt onto there so that we can then put the power pole in the middle. Now that can't feed off the empty space, but it can feed off the underground belts, and that can then put onto, that can reach over the power pole. So the coal needs to go up, so that's inputting, so the coal needs to go there, and it also needs to come down. That might be a little bit neater. So we need to get some steel coming in, some iron ore coming into here. The easiest way to do it might be... come on, press the right keys. The easiest way to do it might be to just feed it from underneath all this. So let's grab the feed. And this shows me which trees I need to chop down for this. Out of belts again. I think for the time being I might have to just rebuild the feeds into this little mini mall just so that that keeps going. So now we have this smelting the iron ore into plates. That then feeds into here. So that's got 2 plates and it's still got 5 coal because it's picking the coal up from over here. And then once it's got 5 plates, it starts making the steel. And then these red inserters put the steel onto this output belt in the middle there. There we go. So we mirror this on the other side, except for this one the red belt will pick up the coal, the yellow belt will output the steel. And that will feed in now. That one won't pick up the coal. It's not quite mirrored image, is it? Because that needs to pick up the coal from there, and that needs to output the steel from there. The inserters can pick up off the underground part of the belt, but it can't pick up, obviously, when the belt is actually under the ground. So now that we have that, let's take off all of this blueprint there. Let's copy And I'll build the rest of that off camera. It's just going to be more of the same of this, but then once the steel comes out, we will then feed it onto the bus. Now don't forget we've got 1, 2, 3. There is a way of just picking up a ghost item even if you do have it in your inventory, but they're all going to need to be there eventually, aren't they? So the steel is going to go along here. I'm glad I reopened or reset up this belt factory there. Yeah, it may well be that this whole area needs to be just completely torn down and rebuilt because I've just got everything in completely the wrong place. But, you know, c'est la vie. So I've got items, I've got steel items coming out on both sides of the belt there. Yeah, I'm going to have to, I'll work on tidying this up off camera. It may be that I've just not left myself enough space to sort of feed everything onto the bus, but the bus can just actually start further up. It doesn't have to start this far down. This was just where I put my placeholders to say where everything was going to go. Yeah, I'll reorganize all that. I will cross that bridge when I get to it. But I've been recording now for about 40 minutes, so I think I might call it quits for this episode. We've got a lot achieved today. I've done a lot off camera, I've done a fair bit on camera. Oh yes, one thing I was going to do, let me just put in, see if I can remember off the top of my head how this belt balancer is designed. So we need to have a space for it to go in. I think it's something like does that then have another splitter coming out, and then it's something like that. I'm not sure, I might just cheat and have a look at my blueprints. Belt balancers. No, it's not that one. DDD balancers, 4x4 yellow. I'll just put that down there. Oh, I wasn't far off. I wasn't far off. I forgot got that bit there. See, I'm not used to building these by hand. I always sort of just put down a blueprint for it. But the way this works is that it basically, and there are articles online about how this works, but it basically splits those up. I'm trying to work out the easiest way of describing this. You might just have to have a look at it and sort of work out for yourself. But this belt gets split into these two. This belt gets split onto these two, and then that belt gets split onto these. So each one of these, so this will have like by the time it gets off these, each belt will have a quarter or an evenly amount from each one of these, and then they just get split out again. Something like that. Anyway, this is a fairly standard design, and a lot of people just memorize it, and a lot of people just blueprint it and stamp it down. But it does mean that even if one of these runs out, the input from the other three is going to be split evenly across the 4 belts. You won't get 4 full belts, but you'll get each belt with like 3/4 of the amount on it. But it does mean that when these belts fill up into feed into these smelters at the top, each smelter will still carry on getting items, even if one of these inputs down here runs dry. It means that none of these are going to run dry afterwards. So that's what a belt balancer does. Some people don't like them because they have you can say they have an adverse effect on the UPS setting, the updates per second, which is how fast the game actually runs. You only need to worry about that when you get into really large bases, I think. Having the occasional balancer here and there isn't going to make any difference to the ability of the computer to actually run the game at all. So that's all that in place. So off camera I will finish building this steel smelting array. I will find a way of tidying up this mess over here that feeds onto the bus. And in the next episode we'll start building the proper mall. So that's it for now. I shall see you next time.